Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is MJ representing RIVA Coaching. And once again, thank you for your support. And each week it gives us the inspiration to do more. Let me invite Vani Surya Prakash to the podcast. She is an internationally accredited coach and also an image consultant. Not only that, she is nationally accredited soft skills trainer as well. She has been talking to us on the most difficult topic to discuss as a group, self-victimization at work. Welcome back, Vani, and it's a great pleasure having you with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, MJ. Hello, all. Good day. The pleasure is all mine, MJ, and it gives me great level of excitement and happiness to come and share my time with you over this podcast.
Great. As always, let me recap our previous episodes. We started with knowing about self-victimization, and last week we discussed the symptoms of self-victimization at work. Let us now start this week's discussion. And Vani, what have you got for us today?
Yeah, so as you recapped, MJ, we started off knowing what is self-victimization and then moved on to the symptoms or characteristics of how do you identify if you have self-victimization. So it obviously leads us to how could I overcome? So today I'm going to give you some more tips on the topic of how do we overcome self-victimization.
Wow, I think it's getting more and more intense as we speak about self-victimization. Go on, Vani.
Yeah. So we are going to address self-victimization at work and how it is crucial for individuals and also for team development, obviously, because we are talking about self-victimization at work. So it can't just be individuals. It also has some crucial aspects for team development. So on that note, let me start with 5 strategies or 5 tips on how do we tackle self-victimization. So that is a detailed version of what we will see today.
Great.
So the first strategy that we would like to talk about is self-reflection. And this, for me, I've always heard about this as part of my upbringing because my dad, he always used to say, whenever we make mistakes as kids, he used to say, okay, it's prone to make mistakes. And people will give you advice. People might scold. I mean, elders, right, at home, my parents or teachers or whomever it is, they might advise, they might scold, or what might happen. However, he would say, at the end of the day, just relax and then think through or analyze, do a self-analysis of what you have done and what you really think that you shouldn't have done or you will not do it further. So that's how he had always been telling. And for me, this self-reflection is the first strategy and is the closest to heart. So encourage individuals to reflect on their attitudes and behaviors. They'll have to start exploring how self-victimization is hindering their growth and success. When we do this, this promotes a sense of personal accountability and also encourages people to identify areas where they can take control and make positive changes. As I said, my dad used to say, analyze, self-analyze, and identify what you shouldn't have done or how would you do it in going forward. So that is what exactly is the crux of self-reflection. It is not just about analyzing, but you also have to start identifying areas where you can take control and make positive changes. And on that note, I'm moving on to the second tip or strategy, which is nothing but encourage empowerment. Again, this is something like a buzzword or a fancy word, which many of them are hearing today, particularly in corporate world. We do say foster a culture of empowerment. See, just to put it simple in simple words for everybody to relate, what does this encourage empowerment means? It means individuals are encouraged to take ownership. So only when you keep encouraging people to take ownership, it doesn't work. I think I would have said an example in the first or the second topic.
Yeah.
You ask people to volunteer. Obviously, they don't volunteer, right? So just encouragement alone doesn't help people to take ownership. So along with that, you as leaders have to start giving a very realistic goal on what is expected and actively seek solutions rather than dwelling on perceived setbacks. And this again is something that I could relate or talk about, because one of my managers at work few years back, he always never told what has to be done or how it has to be done. He just set a realistic goal. He said, okay, this is what we wanted to achieve. Now, in your role, what should you do in order to get this achievement? And I came up with ideas. I implemented it. At times, I even failed. But always he was there to support from behind, stating that it's okay to fail. What do we learn from this and how do we go next so that we attain the ultimate goal? So as leaders, I think it's not just about setting that realistic goal, but how you are backing up your people to ensure that their journey is kind of prospective, both for them as well as for you and the organization. And with that, I'm moving to my third strategy or the third tip for the day. Of course, when you know the problem statement, when you are doing something, people obviously have to start communicating and get feedbacks. Here again, I don't prefer calling it as feedbacks. I prefer calling it as feed forwards. So what is this all about, communicating and feed forwards or feedback? See, consistently at a regular frequency, always provide that feedback to individuals who are exhibiting self-victimization. This again is a two-way. It cannot happen only with individuals. The leaders also has to be very, very prominent, giving individuals that kind of recognition, acknowledgement, and giving right feedback at right time. So what this feedback or feed forward should be all about? It should not be about complaining. Instead, they should start highlighting areas of improvements and promoting a more proactive and solution-oriented mindset. Just assume going to a child and saying, the child has written or had drawn a good piece of art. When it comes and shows to the teacher or to the parents, that one moment, instead of telling, wow, it's good, can we start looking into these things? How does this sound versus the moment the kid shows, if you're saying, you know what, here the color is not patched properly. You should have used a different color. You should have drawn the curve even more better. The line is not straight. So the kid kind of gets off it. It just doesn't have that energy any further to even listen to you. Right? So similarly, it happens with even grown-up adults. So why don't you take a moment to acknowledge what they have done and then tell how they could move the needle from good to better? So that is about communication and feed forwards. So these are the first three strategies or tips in order to overcome self-victimization. So the fourth one is, again, one of my favorites. It is about professional development, because learning never ends, development never ends for any individual, right? So
Yeah.
keep honing your skills. Offer training programs or workshops which are focused on personal development, resilience, and self-awareness. Of course, people do keep honing their skills with respect to hard skills, whatever is required at their work. But many a times it gets missed off in terms of the personal development, resilience, and self-awareness. We just take it for granted. So start focusing on those areas to curate programs or workshops. And these initiatives can help individuals build their EI, they'll have a better emotional space, they'll have a better environment, develop a growth mindset, and learn strategies for overcoming challenges effectively. These are life skills which as kids or which as adults, everybody has to learn in today's world. Don't we all agree, having seen the COVID last few years, how did we cope up in such a situation? Nobody could have even dreamt of it, but we all survived. So just take those learnings and then keep honing them. And on that note, we are now down to the last strategy. And as people always say, last but never the least. And in this case, this is the primary among the all. Lead by example. As leaders and supervisors, you should model positive behaviors, emphasizing personal responsibility, resilience, and proactive approach to challenges. Just assume where a manager or a leader itself is more on the self-victimized mode, where he or she keeps cribbing or always talking offense about what is not available. and not able to take up opportunities, obviously the members in the team are not going to feel super excited. They'll also feel the same energy levels, right? So it's important to lead by example or walk the talk. Encourage a supportive and empowering work environment where individuals feel motivated and capable of overcoming obstacles. And as I said in the previous points, manager where he gave the freedom and at the same time, he also always had the back whenever we failed so that we just quickly caught up and then moved ahead. So always be a leader who looks after the team members. Addressing self-victimization, it requires a combination of individual introspection, cultural shifts within the organization, and leadership support. By promoting personal accountability, fostering empowerment, providing guidance, organizations can help individuals overcome self-victimization tendencies and create a more positive and productive work environment. Who will not want a high-performing team? Of course, everybody needs it, right? So give this to your people so that you get that high-performing team.
Yeah, I think whatever you have said right now, that was fantastic to listen, and it was really deep. And for the listeners' benefit, and particularly myself, let me list out the strategy that were discussed right now. Self-reflection, encourage empowerment, communication and feedback, professional development, lead by example. That was a wonderful, I would say, time that we spent right now. Thank you so much, Vani. It was great. And the important thing is that every strategy that you discussed today with respect to self-victimization at work is practical in nature. And I'm sure each of our listeners will be able to correlate it to them.
Once again, thank you so much, MJ, for providing this platform to discuss and it gives me a great sense of responsibility to come out and provide my views on this topic, self-victimization. Thank you again.
Yeah, so listeners, next week we move on to a much more interesting and intriguing topic, self-victimization at personal life. Yeah, it is going to get more and more interesting, folks. Thank you for listening. And once again, we have a special announcement for those who register with us using the contact form in our website, www.rivacoaching.com. They get a free coaching session with the internationally accredited life coach, Vani again. Make sure you register and claim the free session, which is worth rupees 3,500. And now let me go ahead and share the quote for today. Self-victimization is the art of finding comfort in the role of the victim, but true empowerment lies in breaking free from its chains and discovering the strength within.
Thank you. Thank you, MJ. Thank you all. Keep learning and growing together. Bye-bye.
Catch you all next week. Have a great rest of the week ahead. Be good, do good, and stay good. Cheers.